I am Iron Man. Minute, Iron Man. Hey everybody, this is David, and today I am going to be talking about Iron Man, the original Iron Man movie that came out back in 2008 and started the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, with the Avengers coming out, Avengers Age of Ultron, I thought, now would be appropriate time to start maybe, looking back at some of the past Marvel Cinematic Universe films, since I haven't, reviewed all of them. So, let's start with the very first Iron Man movie. So, if you don't know the story, basically, this is kind of like a coming-of-age story, sort of, I guess. Basically, Tony Stark starts off as this fun, wild, billionaire kind of guy who, likes to drink, have fun with girls, and so on and so on. So, on a business trip, to present some weapons to the U.S. Army, he gets kidnapped by a Taliban kind of like group called the 10 Rings, and they kidnap him to make them some weapons. Tony Stark builds a suit that helps him escape from this place, and he decides to change his life a little bit as soon as he gets back home, and decides to become not just, changing his life around, but becoming a superhero. So, how is this movie? First of all, let's get into Tony Stark himself, played by Robert Downey Jr. This movie would not have worked if Robert Downey Jr. didn't sign up for this role. Robert Downey Jr., by this point, I think everybody can agree, is Iron Man. He's just simply awesome in the role, and he kills it. And we gotta thank Jon Favreau for that a little bit, because he was the one that really pushed Marvel to get him, because by this point, Robert Downey Jr. in his career was someone that not a lot of people in Hollywood really wanted to work with. So, from my understanding, it was really hard to get Robert Downey Jr. to play this role, to get Marvel to accept him, that he would be great in this role. And the payoff was great, because Marvel is one of those studios that is good at taking some risks. If you look at Guardians of the Galaxy, that was a huge risk. And Robert Downey Jr. definitely was the start of those risks, and shows how ambitious Marvel is and why they are one of the greatest studios out there right now. Robert Downey Jr. is just amazing in this role. He embodies everything that Iron Man is supposed to be. His relationship with Pepper Potts, played by Gwyneth Paltrow, is also really good, and that is also something else that would have, if it didn't work, that relationship, again, that's another part of the movie that just would have been flat out boring or pathetic to watch. Because something that I really hate about these superhero movies is the fact that there's always a love interest, and the love interest is sometimes one of the weakest parts about the movie. But I think Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow have such great chemistry together that it's so enjoyable just to watch these two characters, to watch these two actors. And I remember reading that Robert Downey Jr., I don't know how accurate this is, that Robert Downey Jr. Suggested to Jon Favreau to get Gwyneth Paltrow, and I think it was an excellent choice as well. They're one of the few romantic superhero, romantic couples in a superhero movie that I actually enjoy. If I go back and watch other superhero movies, like, let's say, Batman Begins, or even The Dark Knight, for an example, Rachel Dawes, to me, is one of the weakest link. Even Thor, with Natalie Portman and Thor, I don't feel no connection there. A lot of them usually don't work as well as this couple. I think this is one of the few rare examples of a superhero movie that makes it work, and it's because of the two actors and their chemistry. I really like how we get to see Tony build his suits from the ground up, and he doesn't just make one, he makes 3 of them in this movie. The first one is in the cave, Then we get to see him build the second one, which is more of a silverish kind of suit, and then we get to see him make the whole crimson and gold suit, which is known to most people. And yeah, I mean, we get to see him throughout the entire movie make all three of these, and it shows that, you know, he's trying to perfect each suit, and I think that's really cool. I also got to mention Terrence Howard as Rhodey, Iron Man's pal. You know, this was obviously before Don Cheadle got the role of Iron Man in Iron Man 2. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed Terrence Howard. I thought he was a great choice back in the day. I preferably enjoy Don Cheadle a little bit more, though. I'm gonna admit that. But for the most part, you know, Terrence Howard plays it great. I think he does a great job as Rhodey. And Rhodey, you know, is a great... It would have been interesting to see how Terrence Howard... It would have been cool to see him in the suit, you know, too. I think it's kind of unfair he didn't get that far, even though they made the inside joke about it towards the end of this movie. But, you know, everything worked out. Apparently Don Cheadle was the original choice for Rhodey, so I guess for Marvel it's a win-win situation. But yeah, I wouldn't have minded if he returned. I think he did a really good job. I'm also going to mention Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane. He is the first, you know, Marvel Studios villain that really... I wouldn't say he's the best one, but I thought, you know, Jeff Bridges is a great actor. And he definitely has a strong presence, in my opinion, in a lot of movies he's in. Even though lately he's been doing, like, weird accents. But this is one of my favorite roles in a blockbuster that he's done. And yeah, I just think the character is great. I think he's not the best Marvel villain we've had, but definitely an interesting one, because he does start off as Tony Stark's friend, and we find out later that he backstabs him, and it's not like something that they give clues about, like, right from the beginning of the movie. We find out later on that he made this deal with the Ten Rings to kind of, like, screw Tony over and try to take full control of the company, and that's what he's been wanting all this time. So yeah, really good character. I really enjoyed him. I also have to mention, obviously, this movie, because it's the very first movie that's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's also the first one that obviously introduces S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Coulson. As most people know, Agent Coulson is seen through several of the films leading up to the Avengers, and some people would even say he's the glue of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And, you know, rewatching this, it's kind of cool to see, like, the little hints that they give that he's something that we should know, but we don't find out until the very end of the movie. Even though he does say the full name of what it is, I think, early on, no one put two and two together, and we find out at the end of only at the end of the movie that it's S.H.I.E.L.D. It spells out S.H.I.E.L.D. So I thought that was really cool, and you know, if you stick to the credits at the very end, you'll get a little surprise from a character that we obviously will see more of in the Marvel films that follow. Probably the weakest part of the movie for me was the action sequences. I felt out of all the Marvel films, Iron Man 1 was probably the weakest on action. And a lot of people have stated that Jon Favreau isn't really an action director. He's good with everything else because he's an independent director. And this, you could tell this was his very first movie in the action realm, which is fine. And you know, for the most part, I think he did okay. I don't think he did awful. I don't think, like, but like, the action scenes are clearly not the thing that's going to win you over in this movie. What really makes this movie is the characters, the story, and everything else in this movie. So, I mean, other than that, yeah, guys, this is definitely a 9 out of 10 for me. This is definitely a great Marvel film, and definitely, the start of something amazing, of, movies to come that followed Iron Man right after. This is the prototype that, that a lot of other Marvel films that followed are compared to, and it's very understandable why, because yeah, it is a fun film all around, and it's very funny, and Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow, like I said, they have great chemistry, and that could have, if it was a different actress with Robert Downey Jr., it could have been totally different. And even without Robert Downey Jr., I remember there were rumors way before Robert Downey Jr. was cast that Tom Cruise was supposed to play Iron Man. And Tom Cruise is a really cool actor, but can you imagine him as Iron Man? I mean, he probably would have done a good job, but nowhere near as perfect as Robert Downey Jr. And I think he definitely is the heart and soul of this movie. And I'd say Gwyneth Paltrow is a little bit of the soul, maybe the spirit. She's like the spirit of the movie. Or maybe I'm just coming up with random crap. I don't know. But yeah, guys, if you haven't seen Iron Man 1, totally check it out. But like, if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know. I just think it's weird. Believe me, I know a few people that have not seen Iron Man, and it's insane to me. I get that everybody has their own, preference in films and shows and stuff, but still, I mean, Iron Man is great, and it still holds up. I mean, it's not even been 10 years now since it's been released, but still, like, the movie's freaking awesome and a lot of fun. So until next time, guys, take care.